Hey guys, Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and today we're taking a closer look at and installing the C&L passenger side oil separator in black, available for all 2015 and newer Mustangs. Now, long story short guys, you should be checking out the C&L separator for your Mustang if you are looking for, I would say, one of the most affordable ways to help protect against oily sludge from being reintroduced back into your engine through your car's PCV system. So if you didn't know, your Mustang has what is called a PCV system, which is short for positive crankcase ventilation. Now, the purpose of this system is to help regulate and remove fumes produced during combustion from the engine crankcase and help alleviate crankcase pressure, which, if not otherwise fixed or alleviated, that would lead to oil leaks, seal damage, and some other bad stuff. Now, because laws do mandate that the PCV system has to be sealed at all times, the engine at that point uses vacuum to draw these vapors out and basically plumb them back into the intake where they are to be burned off during the next combustion cycle. Now, that sounds great in theory and all, but a lot of times these oily vapors end up leaving their residue on the intake manifold and even on the backside of your intake valves, which can lead to things like valve coking over time, and ultimately it's just never a good thing. Now, full disclosure guys, the passenger side is going to do most of the heavy lifting here with the Coyote engine. So if you're only gonna do one side, I would definitely recommend it being the passenger. Now, I do also want to point out that C&L also offers an extremely affordable driver side option as well. You can certainly find that here on the site. And if you're looking for the ultimate in protection against all this oily junk from being up in your engine, I would certainly recommend picking up that as well. So how does this little guy work? Well, all of that oily vapor we just talked about is going to pass through your car's PCV system and once installed into the C&L separator. Now, at that point, the solids present in this vapor, basically the tiny little particles of oil and maybe unburnt fuel, they're going to get caught in the aluminum honeycomb filter up top, collect in the canister down here below, while still allowing that fresh, clean air to pass through your car's PCV system as intended, but obviously without those grimy side effects. Now, construction is going to be extremely solid here with the C&L despite its very budget-friendly price point, guys. You're looking at things like a billet aluminum canister here, obviously in gloss black. You're going to be looking at a 2¼ ounce capacity here with the C&L kit. You can also look forward to things like the included bracket here. That's going to be used for mounting the actual canister itself. And then once everything's been mounted, they even include a decorative top for the canister and package just to clean up the look a little bit. C&L does include a drain here to be used in the bottom portion of the canister. That's going to allow for pretty easy emptying once things do get a little bit full. Now, finally, guys, the kit does include all of your lines needed along with clamps and everything else made for a very easy install. Price point, again, might be just one of the most attractive features with the C&L option. You're gonna be looking at right around 50 bucks here for the passenger side option, easily making this one of the most affordable on the site. Far less than, I would say, even half the cost of other popular options from companies like J&L or even Corsa. But let's talk a little bit more about the install. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, you're looking at mostly plug and play stuff here. A little bit of work needed to mount the actual bracket along with the canister, and of course running your lines, getting your clamps hooked up, all that good stuff. Nevertheless, the site's still gonna go 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Call this one about 30 minutes to get in place from start to finish. But to give you a better idea of just where to mount the canister, how to run the lines, let's head out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
The tools you'll need for this project are a ratchet, a short extension, an 8mm and a 10mm socket, a 10mm wrench, a short Phillips screwdriver, a longer Phillips screwdriver, some sort of cutting device, and some masking tape. Hi everyone, today we're installing an oil separator on our Mustang, so let's get started. If your car has a strut tower brace, which ours does not, you're going to need to remove that before we can remove the engine cover. So you're going to have 2 15mm nuts on this side, 2 15mm nuts on the other side. Take those off, lift the strut cover out of the way, then you can go ahead and remove your engine cover. Now, to remove our engine cover, you should have a couple of covers on these parts right here. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a trim removal tool to pop those up. Ours, of course, are not here. And then you're going to have a 10mm nut in each of these holes. So we'll go ahead and take those off first. Now once you've got your nuts off of the studs, just lift up on the cover. And lift it out of the way. With our engine cover removed, now we can go ahead and remove our PCV line here. Simply by pulling on the connector, on the blue connector here on the fitting, and lifting it up. Do the same thing on the other end where it goes into the intake manifold and just pop it off. Now the unit does come with the hose bibs already attached, so we're just going to attach the bracket to the side of it here using the supplied hardware. Now you can see from the bracket that there are 2 mounting holes that you can use, and it has a curved side as well. So the curved side is what we're going to put onto the canister. Then we're going to use the supplied nut. Then we're going to use the supplied bolt, flat washer, we're going to use the supplied bolt, lock washer, and flat washer, and then just go ahead and insert it and lock it down. And we just insert the bolt into the oil separator. And tighten it down with your 10mm socket. Now with that done, we can go ahead and install our drain valve on the bottom of the oil separator. Now I highly recommend that you use some type of thread sealant on this just to make sure that it doesn't leak when it's actually in operation. But because we're not using this as a permanent modification on our vehicle, we're just going to go ahead and attach it as is. Now we can go ahead and install the logo badge on the top using the supplied screws and flat washers. And we'll tighten them down with a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Now we can go put it on the car. Now the mounting location for our oil separator is going to be right here on the side of the strut tower. So we're going to remove this 8mm bolt here with the ground strap and put our oil separator in there and reconnect the ground strap. We'll lift our ground strap up, insert the oil separator, put the ground strap back on, and then reinstall our 8mm bolt. Now we'll go ahead and tighten that back down. Now we can connect our hoses. All right, now we can go ahead and attach one end of our hose to our PCV valve fitting on the rocker cover, on the valve cover here. And it takes a little bit of work to get it all the way pushed on. Once you get it on, you don't need to tighten the clamp just yet. And then the fitting that goes on the valve cover is going to connect to the bottom fitting on the separator. So to do that, we want to make sure that the hose doesn't kink. So you'll see if you just try and fold it down, the hose is going to kink and then you're not going to get the flow. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop this around and get a rough estimate down here as to how much hose we actually need. So we're going to go ahead and mark it right there. Then we'll use our utility knife and we'll go ahead and cut the hose to length. So we're just going to loop this around to where we think is the best fit without kinking. And we're going to go ahead and mark it. Then we'll use our utility knife and just go ahead and cut that hose to fit. Now we go ahead and put a hose clamp on both ends. Of the hose here. And then we'll go ahead and slip this on to that bottom fitting. Now that we've got that one done, we can move on to the upper connection. So we'll go ahead and put a hose clamp on one end of it, slide it onto our fitting. And then we can route this around to the PVC fitting here on the intake manifold. And we'll do the same thing over there. As far as the fitment goes and the length. Put our other hose clamp on the end of it. And slide it down on top of the fitting as well. Now you just want to double check and make sure that everything is clear and it's not interfering with anything. And go ahead and tighten down your clamps and then we can reinstall our engine cover. Now we'll go ahead and use our Phillips head screwdriver and tighten down these clamps. And now we can go ahead and reinstall our engine cover. We'll go ahead and set our engine cover back in place. Because these pockets are so deep here, one of the things I like to do in order to be able to reinstall these nuts is just use a little bit of tape on the end of the socket after you've got your nut inside, just to hold it in place while we attach it to the stud below. And we'll go ahead and tighten them down with our 10mm socket. And that wraps up our review and install of the C&L oil separator for the passenger side for the 18 to current Mustang GT. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.